Hello everyone. The topic for the day is Information Technology Act 2000. It's an important act for the current scenario and what are the things which we study here in Information Technology Act is with the following slides. The modern thief can steal more with a computer than with a gun. Tomorrow's terrorists may be able to do more damage with a keyboard than with a bomb. National Research Council USA, Computers at Risk. This is the statement or the need given by this institution, and it's a fact where terrorism is going way beyond with the help of a normal computer. As every coin has two sides, similarly, every information technology or whatever the advancements, technology has both advantages and disadvantages. Here is what we think of advantage and disadvantages, and let's understand what are the disadvantages of technological advancements going on. What is Information Technology Act 2000? The act, which was passed in the year 2000 under the legislation for a compulsory process to protect the interest of the consumers or the customers against the online or electronic devices which has been there in the line. This act extends to the whole of India, starting from Delhi to Kanyakumari. Entire India has been taken into consideration for this particular act. It shall come into the force on the date the central government by notification. As of the central government notification is given in the year 2000 and so on continuously coming in the line. What is cyber law? Cyber law is the law governing cyberspace. Then what is cyberspace? Cyberspace includes computers, networks, software, data storage, devices, internet, websites, emails, and electronic devices like cell phones also. So cyberspace means anything that we do with the help of these systems. Possibly everything comes under cyberspace. All social media networks, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, everything comes under cyberspace. Paytm, Google Pay, everything, all the financial apps do come under cyberspace. Cyber law encompasses law relating to cyber crimes, IP, that is intellectual property rights, electronic and digital signatures, data protection, and piracy as well privacy. What is the need for cyber law? It's important for the people to be protected under the law with whatever the information is being passed from them on the Facebook or whatever the laws. Basically, when we talk about Facebook, that's an important example that we can quote. Lot of people do post their personal views on Facebook and WhatsApp, which has been shared to the entire public and which will be possibly taken in the right direction, but many a times this will taken into be task and that can be misled from people for their personal or professional reasons. Hence and therefore there is intangible dimension which is impossible to govern and regulate using conventional laws. Why another law for cyberspace? It's very important that intangible dimensions where people cannot trace what's happening with the conventional law, and therefore it's important for us to have another I called cyber law. Complete disrespect for judicial boundaries. When we have a judicial system and when we have the entire IPC codes, criminal codes, everything being monitored, still there are a lot of people who take their advantages of everything and therefore cross the judicial borders or boundaries, which has created a lot of problems on the public or on the social interest. Therefore, we need a particular law which will have a judicial boundary for them to be punished. Absolutely open for all for participation. When things goes on the normal line, possibly everybody are using WhatsApp, Android mobile phones, everything, and nobody has any control over what is happening on the situation. And if that is being taken for granted, I think most of the things gets into the toss, and therefore we need a cyber law which is very important for us to come into the jurisdiction possibilities. offers enormous potential for anonymity to its members. When people are using the cyberspace or using the cyber related internets, what happens is you need to have somebody who is actually helping you to be considered under the protection, and that is why you need a particular law. As simple as it is, why there is Indian Penal Code? It's just a moral fear that has been created among people that if you do such an act, you'll be punished under IPC code. Similarly, if you get into any offenses under with the help of cyberspace, possibly you need that law which is actually being bound for the people so that they'll be able to come out of it. First point under this is digital signatures. Let's understand what is digital signature. It's a mathematical scheme for demonstrating the authenticity of a digital message of document. When we talk about digital signature, it's quite normal word which is so catchy amongst us, and everybody thinks digital signature is what we create a signature online and which you can use on any of the documents which has been given. Most of the people are using digital signatures even on their emails, especially when they go on the workplace. Instead of writing the name, they use the digital signatures which has been created once in a while and it has been practiced for over a long period of time. Possibly this digital signature is taken very lighter on a note and which may be difficult for people to be taken into consideration. Authentication of electronic record by a subscriber by means of an electronic method or procedure in accordance with the provisions of Section 3. When we have digital signatures facility, it is under the provision of Section 3, which gives an authentication for a customer or a subscriber by means of an electronic method. So when online transactions or technological advancements have been moved so faster, possibly you have everybody taken care. Now, because there is Google Docs, Google Duo, you can just repeat the word and that will follow your instructions and take into consideration. In this era, I think authentication is really important for a person to get their legality or whatever the means which has been done and the procedural factors. Accordingly, digital signature provides a viable solution for creating legally enforceable electronic records, closing the gap in going fully paperless by completely eliminating the need to print documents for signing. Most of the times we have stopped using papers and everything is going online, and in this way I think electronic signatures, basically digital signature, helps the person to go out of the way. Digital signature enables the replacement of slow and expensive paper-based approval processes with fast, low-cost and fully digital ones. When we talk about fast, low-cost and fully digital ones, it's important for us to understand how fast the work can be done with a digital signature. Usually, if you understand the postman's office or if you understand the banker's job previously, a banker used to sign a document. It will take place for more than 3 days to go on a transaction, and finally the transaction is complete at the end of the 3rd day or at the end of the 7th day. But now, because of this digital signatures, which has been easily accessible and the online cyberspace has been so easier, it gets the work easier within the seconds, which is completely fast and fully paperless. I think this is one of the advantages which is there for us. Digital signatures satisfy 3 major legal requirements: signer authentication, non-repudiation of origin, message integrity. Whenever you talk about digital signatures, usually when you transact on a stock market or a capital market, you will be able to sell your shares or buy your shares online, which helps there through your signer authentication. When you give your authentication, automatically your identity would be understood and the messages would be sent to the personal number which is being shared. Signer authentication is the source of messages. Ownership is bound to a specific user and signature shows the message sent by the user. high confidence, and sender authenticity. Suppose by this mobile number, if I send my signature and my identity, that would be recorded and that would be taken into consideration for all my future endeavors later. And once you have an authentication, possibly the system would understand how better you can use it properly. It's simple. For an example, you have password settings, you have uh, log settings for your system or for your mobile phones and all. That's also an identification, authentication that is you kind of. Similarly, digital signatures also provide the same confidentiality and sender authenticity. What is integrity? Confidence is not being altered during the transmission of message. Whenever the message is transmitted from one person to another person, also confidence is strictly maintained, and which has an integral part of digital signatures. Provides this feature by using cryptographic message digest function. The most important line is cryptographic. What is this cryptographic? Whenever you log into a new website, or whenever you log into your another system with your email ID, automatically you get an email asking whether is it you who opened your account in another system, right? And there would be something like a captcha which is there on, you need to type it whether you are right or wrong. That's another way which is called cryptographic message. If a message is digitally signed, any change in the message after signature invalidates the signatures. Very importantly, whenever you talk about alterations or any message has been signed and later if there is any alteration, possibly you need to think of signing one after the other. Non-repudiation of the origin is an important aspect of digital signatures, which is it ensures sender cannot deny having signed it. Whatever happens, once the digital signature has been given, the sender is responsible for whatever happens in the situation. He has completely taken care into his signature point. A handwritten signature scanned and attached with the document does not qualify as a digital signature. The point to be noted here is you cannot write or you cannot sign on a sheet of paper, scan it and send that as your digital signature. No, you need to follow a system or a procedure for your digital signature to record it, and authentication is important. An ink signature can be easily replicated from one document to another by copying the image manually or electronically. Why this is a line quoted here is usually you can easily uh, replicate or replace one document to another document with when the signatures are signed on with the ink pen. Most of the smart people do not sign with ink pen because of this particular reason. When you replicate the document, when you go for a duplication, it is easy for a person to copy and make a point here. Next, what is cybercrime? What are the important things that you need to understand? As I said, there is every coin has two faces. Even the technological advancements or cyberspace has both plus and minus. The plus is what I told you today till now, digital signature or something. There are quite a lot of points, but I just took on digital signatures. But disadvantages are too many, that is cyber crimes are too many, and let's understand what are they. Cybercrime is the latest and the most complicated problem in the cyber world. What is that? When you talk about unlawful or lawful terms, possibly cyber crimes are something which is considered as unauthorized access, unlawful acts, or where computer is used either as a tool or a target or both. Many a times computers are used as a media through which they can commit this crime easily and escape from the punishment. Any criminal activity that uses a computer either as an instrumentality, target, or a means for perpetuating further crimes comes with the ambit of cybercrime. Obviously, when you want to perpetuate, that is, when you want to do the same mistake again and again, continue the same thing over a longer period of time, it automatically comes in the ambit of cybercrime. The enormous growth in the electronic commerce, that is e-commerce and online share trading, has led to the phenomenal spurt in the incidence of cybercrime. One has to accept this. Once the technology moves on, I think we have crossed the borders and we found lot of things, each line by line, word by word, how to replicate, how to duplicate, and how to do the incidents on a different way. Just because of the profit motive, just because of the financial terms, I think a lot of crimes have been taken part. Now, what are the different types of cybercrimes that has been there? Possibly the classification of cybercrime is divided into three things: cybercrimes against persons, cybercrimes against property, cybercrimes against government. Let's understand the first thing: cybercrimes against persons. This is pretty important. Crime against a person through the computer or through the cyberspace is called cybercrime. First one, harassment with emails, via emails. One of the typical mode of crime or committing a crime is people people do it as a purpose habit, where they send emails to people on their personal things, whether it is official, personal, professional, whatever. They keep sending emails and start blackmailing them and controlling their emotions through their emails in one way or the other way. This could be a cybercrime, because when it is taken to a harassment, when a person thinks it's too much into his heart and he gets into some difficulty, that could be called as harassment via emails. This is quite older one, but it was there in the beginning of the era, where people started a lot of fraudulent activities, sending emails, unauthorized emails to people and telling them you have won this, you have won that, you have to pay this, you should do that, kind of examples which are there for harassments. Second one, cyberstacking or cyberstacking. Pursuing stealthily involves following a person's movements across the interest by posting messages on the bulletin boards frequented by the victim. Very, very important word to be taken for youth, especially the youngsters who do not know the repercussions of posting their pictures on the social websites on a proper mode. When you talk about on the online or cyberspace, basically one right example which I can quote is, there are so many acid attacks, there are so many examples for people getting into human trafficking, getting into lot of negative activities just because of their continuous postings on their social websites. There are people who will follow people on the websites, on the social media continuously, learn the personal interest of the person and take them into the consideration through their chatting modes or through their messages or through their call histories or whatever, and this is called cyber stacking. Most of the cyber crimes which has been registered and reported in the metropolitan cities fall into this line called cyber stacking. The next one is dissemination of obscene material, indecent exposure, pornography, polluting through incident exposure. This is quite now usual or casual in these days, where people take dissemination of obscene materials. Using pornography is one of the greatest threat to the cyberspace in the present world. They may do the crime is something where people take undue advantage of the photographs which has been posted or the photographs which has been taken in the social websites, and then they use it for a bad purpose or they use it for an indecent mode. which could be adding to the cybercrime. Defamation, third one. Defamation or defamation is the one act of imputing a person with the intent to lower the person's estimation. This is quite normal one which has been there for the last 20 more years. Defamation, possibly people would do it without the cyberspace also, but today because of cyberspace it becomes easy for a person to defame another person within the fraction of a second, which has been done. So when there are a lot of people who keep on trolling people on one or the other ways, and that is nothing but defamation. Of course it's a cybercrime, but when it is taken into serious considerations it will become an offense. Cheating and fraud. Fraud is one of the things where people cheat another person through the cyber space. It could be email, it could be debit cards, credit card scams, or it could be any messages or scams which has been taken into the picture using your WhatsApp or Facebook or your messages, your contact number or whatever. What is hacking? One of the most important thing is hacking. Hacking is something unauthorized attempts to bypass the security mechanisms of an information system or network. Very importantly, hacking is the most dangerous thing which is happening today in the world, that is hacking. Once one person's security system could be attempted or hacked by another person without the authorization or without the permission of a person, and gets all his data, gets all his information through one or the other place. This is one of the greatest threat for the cyberspace, and presently most 90% of the cyber crimes are due to hacking. As I have already told you, cyber staking, it could be everything where people follow on the process. I have already explained that it could be on your Facebook or your WhatsApp, or it could be on your social media. Not only that, it could be on any of your transactions where you use your cyberspace. You use your e-modes, e-payments, or you use your messaging, you use your WhatsApp, or you use your calls. Everything would be recorded, and that could be followed by one of the other person, and it will fall into the crime. Second important thing is cyber crimes against property. Till now we spoke about people, but now we talk about property, and that's one, computer vandalism. What is computer vandalism? Vandalism means deliberately destroying or damaging property of another. Deliberately you destroy, or one destroying or damaging the property of another person using cyberspace is absolutely one of the great challenges today, and that is computer vandalism. In the current competition era, I think most of the businessmen adopt strategies to compete successfully within one-to-one, and in this mode, if it becomes an unhealthy competition, people go in approach to this computer vandalism where they deliberately start destroying the person's property or company's property in the other way, one or the other way. Second one is transmitting virus and worms. The current situation, COVID-19, is the best example for transmitting virus or worms, and that is also through computer cyberspace, which is one of the crime. The third one is cyber crimes against property. Till now we spoke about people or the company. Now we talk about the property, that is an individual's property, could be even whatever the topic which has been done. Intellectual property crimes, cyber terrorism or trafficking. When we talk about intellectual property rights, 5 types of intellectual property rights are there. It may be patents, trade secrets, trademarks or copyrights. Each has its own value, or each has its own weightage given to it. For example, BMTC, that is Bangalore Metropolitan Transport Corporation, has this trademark with Rajahamsa. That's one of the greatest bird which we have that in mind, and that is a symbol. This trademark cannot be used by any other transport organization irrespective of services provided, whatever it is. So that is one example where if anybody tries to use this trademark unauthorizingly, that could be one of the cybercrime. Cyber terrorism. When we talk about cyber terrorism, one of the great thing is using cyberspace, the terrorists or the illegal activities could be done unauthorizedly from one person to another. It could be one country to another country, one state to state, city to city, one person to person, or one company to company. The third one is cyber trafficking. When we talk about cyber trafficking, it could be human trafficking, it could be drugs trafficking, it could be arms trafficking or weapons trafficking, whatever, through cyberspace. When we do this particular kind of it, it could be a crime. Most of the cases which has been registered in human trafficking is like, one example which I can quote, there were so many incidents which were reported and registered in the court of law for young girls whose age is between 15 to 20, photographs posted on the Facebook or any of the cyber networks. They've just been taken and posted to different medias or posted to different dark sites, and therefore they land up with certain problems, and that is one example where cyber trafficking is done. Finally, we I could tell you, we could understand few topics of cyber space or cyber line crimes or cyber law, but not much. This is only a small concept, but I hope everybody have followed. Thank you.